Bridgerton is more than a glossy period romance filled with lavish costumes and dramatic love stories. At its core, the show is a character-driven social drama, one that places flawed people under intense pressure and lets audiences decide who deserves sympathy and who deserves criticism. From the moment the first season aired, viewers didn't just watch Bridgerton, they argued about it.
I should be very happy, indeed.
Online debates exploded over which characters were misunderstood, which were forgiven too easily, and which crossed lines that fans simply couldn't ignore. What makes Bridgerton unique is that it doesn't clearly label heroes and villains. Instead, it presents characters shaped by power, class, gender roles, and expectation. Some characters make terrible decisions yet remain beloved. Others commit fewer mistakes but are judged far more harshly. This divide has turned Bridgerton into one of the most emotionally debated shows of its era. In this video, we're breaking down the most loved versus the most hated Bridgerton characters, and why audiences react to them the way they do. Before we move forward, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel since it helps me a lot. Okay, so let's start the video. Let's begin with one of the most universally loved characters in the series, Penelope Featherington. Penelope's popularity is rooted in relatability. She is constantly underestimated, ignored, and spoken over in social spaces that reward beauty, confidence, and family status. Unlike other characters who command attention the moment they enter a room, Penelope fades into the background, and that invisibility becomes her survival strategy. Viewers connect deeply with her quiet observations, her emotional restraint, and her longing to be seen without having to perform. Penelope's secret identity complicates her reputation, but it doesn't destroy it. While some fans criticize her choices, many continue to empathize with her because her actions stem from insecurity rather than cruelty. She isn't driven by power or control, she's driven by fear of being powerless. That distinction matters deeply to audiences, and it's why Penelope remains one of Bridgerton's most defended characters, even when her decisions cause harm. Another fan favorite who earned his place through growth is Anthony Bridgerton.
It'll be exceptionally difficult. Hastings did it after all, how hard can it be?
Anthony's early portrayal positioned him as rigid, controlling, and emotionally unavailable. Many viewers initially disliked him, viewing his behavior as oppressive rather than protective. But as the layers of his character were revealed, the audience was given context, grief, trauma, and the suffocating pressure of responsibility. Anthony wasn't taught how to feel, he was taught how to lead, suppress, and endure. What transformed audience perception wasn't just romance, but accountability. Anthony confronts his own emotional failures and actively works to change. That willingness to grow is crucial. Bridgerton fans are far more forgiving of flawed characters who acknowledge their damage than of characters who justify it. Anthony's evolution from cold authority figure to emotionally present partner is one of the show's strongest redemption arcs, and it solidified his place among the most loved characters. Then there's Benedict Bridgerton.
Who knows? Perhaps Miss Sharma can teach you a thing or two.
Whose popularity stems from his openness rather than dominance. Benedict doesn't seek control, validation, or approval from society in the same way his siblings do. Instead, he questions identity, explores creativity, and resists rigid definitions of success. His curiosity feels genuine, not performative. Viewers appreciate that he listens more than he lectures and observes more than he judges. In a world full of expectations, Benedict's refusal to conform makes him quietly magnetic. On the more divisive side of the loved category is Eloise Bridgerton.
How does a lady come to be with child? Eloise, what a question.
Eloise inspires admiration and frustration in equal measure. Many viewers love her intellect, her resistance to societal norms, and her refusal to define herself by marriage alone. She voices questions that no one else dares to ask, but others criticize her lack of self-awareness. Eloise often fails to recognize the privilege that shields her from consequences, especially when compared to characters from less powerful families. This divide makes Eloise endlessly debated rather than universally adored. She reflects a modern tension. Good intentions don't erase impact. While she represents progress, she sometimes overlooks the emotional realities of those around her. That complexity keeps her firmly in the conversation, admired by some, criticized by others, but rarely ignored. Now let's turn to the characters who consistently appear on most hated lists. One of the most discussed is Daphne Bridgerton.
Person left in the world, and yet somehow I am not lonely. How very sad.
Daphne began the series as a clear protagonist. kind, composed, and seemingly morally grounded. Early audience affection for her was strong. However, one controversial storyline dramatically altered that perception. What angered audiences wasn't just the act itself, but the lack of accountability afterward. The narrative moved forward without forcing reflection, apology, or consequence. For modern viewers, silence can feel like endorsement. As a result, Daphne's reputation shifted sharply, transforming her from beloved lead to one of the most criticized characters in the series. Another character frequently criticized is Queen Charlotte. While charismatic and commanding, the Queen represents unchecked authority. She treats gossip as entertainment and personal suffering as spectacle. Her obsession with scandal fuels public humiliation, often without empathy or restraint. Audiences struggle to connect with her because she rarely reflects on the harm she causes. Unlike characters who evolve, the Queen remains largely unchanged. Her power insulates her from consequence, and that imbalance creates resentment. She becomes less of a character and more of a system, a reminder of how authority can strip compassion from decision-making. Then there is Nigel Burbrook, a character designed to be disliked. Nigel embodies entitlement without charm and persistence without respect. There is no redemption arc, no emotional depth meant to inspire empathy. His role exists to make viewers uncomfortable, and in that sense, it works. Audience dislike for Nigel is immediate and nearly unanimous because he represents behavior that feels both dated and disturbingly familiar. Perhaps the most controversial character in Bridgerton is Marina Thompson. Marina divides the fandom like no other. Some viewers see her as a victim of circumstance, trapped by pregnancy, abandoned by the man she loved, and cornered by a society that offers no safe choices. Others see her actions as manipulative and damaging, particularly toward those who trusted her. What makes Marina so polarizing is that both interpretations are valid. Bridgerton presents her pain honestly, but doesn't absolve her entirely. This moral grayness forces viewers to confront uncomfortable questions about survival, agency, and accountability. Marina's storyline remains one of the most emotionally charged in the series precisely because it refuses to offer easy answers. Another frequently criticized character is Cressida Cowper. Cressida's cruelty feels intentional rather than reactive. She weaponizes social power to humiliate others and rarely shows remorse. Unlike characters shaped by fear or pressure, Cressida often appears driven by superiority. That lack of vulnerability makes it difficult for audiences to empathize with her, solidifying her place among the most disliked. In the end, what determines whether a Bridgerton character is loved or hated comes down to three key factors: self-awareness, growth, and empathy. Characters who acknowledge their flaws and attempt to change are often forgiven. Characters who deny harm or remain insulated by power face harsher judgment. Bridgerton thrives because it allows characters to fail, sometimes spectacularly, and trusts the audience to decide what failure means. Love and hate in Bridgerton are rarely permanent. They shift with context, growth, and consequence. And that emotional instability is exactly why the show continues to dominate conversation. These characters feel real, not because they are perfect, but because they are deeply, uncomfortably human. Now we want to hear from you. Bridgerton is one of those shows where everyone walks away with different opinions, so tell us in the comments which character you genuinely love the most and which one you just couldn't get behind, no matter how hard you tried. Was there a character you defended while everyone else hated them? Or someone you liked at first but slowly turned on as the seasons went on? Those shifts are what make this show so interesting, and reading different perspectives is honestly half the fun. If you enjoyed this breakdown and like videos that really dig into characters instead of just summarizing the plot, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We post regular videos on movies, TV shows, and iconic characters, looking at what makes people love them, hate them, or argue about them endlessly online. Stick around, there's a lot more coming.